Hey, welcome to Keight Krafts. I'm Keight. Today I would like to share with you a card that was inspired by a movie that I quite enjoyed while I was growing up as a child. Let's get started. To start, I have a panel here of Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock that I've cut down to 5.5 by 4.25. And the Oxide inks I am going to be using is Mowed Lavender, Dusty Concord, Prized Ribbon, and Black Soot. And I'm just going to go back and forth here until I'm satisfied with the blend. I'm not going into the middle because the most of this is going to be covered up with another cardstock panel. I'd come across two pads of 6x6 paper packs, and one of them was Honeybee Halloween Harvest, and then the other one was Echo Park Halloween Party. And they had two pieces of paper in there in particular that kind of reminded me a little bit of Beetlejuice. And, you know, as growing up in the 80s as a kid and seeing Tim Burton's Beetlejuice, I absolutely loved the movie. I thought it was great. And I still think it's great, even though it's a little cheesy. And I didn't know this, truth be told, but I hadn't realized that Alec Baldwin, of all people, actually played one of the characters in the movie. It was just, he was Gina Davis's husband, and I didn't know who he was at the time until I'd gotten older, but I knew who Gina Davison was because, come on, she's super cool. And I've liked a lot of her movies from the 80s. They were a lot of fun. But Catherine O'Hara is another great character in the movie whom I think is just absolutely ridiculous. And I don't know, I'll probably have to go back and watch the movie again come October. Even though it's not quite October yet, I thought I'd get a jump start on yet another Halloween card because who doesn't like Halloween? I mean, come on. So, with me doing this background looking like the night sky from the movie poster, which is fantastic, by the way, with Alec Baldwin with his head in his hand and Gina Davis in a wedding gown, and then you've got Michael Keaton just kind of sitting there in some stripy suit with a black tie and looking all gross and grody. I don't know. I just thought that I would draw those colors into my card for this. So once I'm happy with that, I will take some of my Fine Tech Pearlescent colors. Yes, I've gotten a new palette. I'll probably be doing a swatch test soon, so you could see all these lovely colors in action. I highly recommend Fine Tech. They are a little bit pricey, but the pigment of the color is just absolutely fantastic, as you will see here in a second. So I'm just going to load that up with water onto my paintbrush and make sure to close my lid because I don't want to splatter inside my paint, and I'm just going to flop that all over the place. So here I have some pink and Maine, I think they're called the Concave rectangle dies, which are new to me. I just recently got these from, I believe, Simon Says Stamp. Yeah, I think they came with my Simon Says Stamp-tember order, which will be in a future video. I just haven't gotten around to it. So once I've figured out which ones that I want for this one, and I don't end up using the smallest one that I pick out here. I thought I was going to, but it just didn't match with what I was trying to do. And I was kind of doing this card again, yet on the fly. So once I'm satisfied with what I'm going to do, I am going to cut this down to size to fit comfortably through my Sizzix Big Shot because it is only 6 inches across, and I want to make sure that I don't damage the paper, so I'll save that scrap for later. And then that one was, I think, Honeybee Stamp, and then this one is Echo Park, I think it is. Either or, it's still some pretty awesome paper. So once I've cut that down, and I will set aside the extra piece so I could use for another project, I will cut these guys out. So here I have the spider web, and then next I will cut out the stripey off camera. So I'm just going in around the edges with the Wilted Violet. Now, Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice in this movie has a little bit of purple, I think. I can't recall. I think he's got a little bit of purple. Or I could just be imagining things. But I thought I'd go around with a little bit of purple around the edge of the spiderweb panel just to kind of give it a little bit more interest. And then once I'm happy with that, I will go in with some Mowed Lawn because Beetlejuice has some really grotesque green crusty hair. And I thought adding a little bit to this black and white striped card panel would kind of tie in, because in the movie poster he has a black and white striped suit on that may or may not be tinted green in some spots. So to figure out a sentiment for the front of my card, I decided to go with Harold and Henry's ABCs. So to spare you the tedious amount of effort it took for me just to figure out all these little letters, I went ahead and just quickly stamped that out. And because I have a drawer full of Henry's ABCs in various colors, I just kind of shuffled through it and picked out all these really pretty purple glittery colors to kind of go with it. And then I just took my die set and then cut out in black lettering because I didn't have any to create like a drop shadow for the letters themselves. And I thought that kind of worked out quite nice. So once I'm done gluing everything on and together, I will end up setting that aside just to let that dry for a while, just so I don't get any movement between the black and the whatever color fuchsia that is. So now that all my paint is dry, I'm going to take some double-sided tape adhesive. This is my Easy Runner tape, which is on my desk at all times and pretty much my go-to for quick and easy, making sure things are adhesive, you know what I mean, I can't speak, which is a daily habit. So I've taken some Tombow Mono Glue just to kind of give it some extra oomph, and then I will mash that down once I am happy with the placement. So I thought that looked kind of cool. And then I'll do the same for the third panel and add a lot of the double-sided tape and a little bit of glue. And once I'm happy with the placement for that as well, I will mash that down and secure it. And then it's a matter of what do I do with this thing. So I figured since the card panels were a little concaved, I will take this down a little bit with my very sharp Cricut scissors just to kind of make it a little matchy-matchy. I'm not being too fussy about those because this is just going to be a quick flat card, which, I don't know, I thought worked out kind of nice. I kind of like this card. Even like just coming back to my art desk after a long day's work and looking at it, it kind of brings me a little bit of joy. So I'm going to take these letters here and kind of space them out how I want them. And once I'm happy where everyone should be, or where at least I think they should be, I will glue these down individually as well. So I'll get back to that never trust the. So here I am just taking some glue and very carefully gluing the back sides of these. And because of camera wizardry, I am going to cut a lot of this out again. So once I'm satisfied with where everything is going to go, I will end up going into a bit more of the block. Yeah, the block. I gotta put this other one on. This was quite simple to put together. It was just having the imagination to put them together that closely resembled Beetlejuice. So I'm going to take my purple that was left on my brush and kind of dust around the edges to kind of grime it all up to kind of resemble Beetlejuice, I guess, because he's a pretty grimy kind of guy. And I don't know, I just thought these colors kind of went together. However, once I've done this, then I kind of noticed that the black ink, that I probably should have left them all in my Misty so I could have stamped over them again. But I noticed the black is a little bit faded, so I'm going to go around the edges just to darken them up. I didn't want to use my alcohol ink marker either because I didn't want to mess up my alcohol ink marker. So I'm just going to use this random Sharpie that I have on my desk. So I'll add a little bit of glue to the back side of that. Grab my reverse tweezers. Oh, no, a little bit more glue. Now I'll grab my reverse tweezers and drop it on my workstation. Yeah, it's a reoccurring thing with me. So once I'm happy with that, I'll push that down for the side. And then I figured, well, you know, I probably could put a little sentiment on the inside. So before I glue everything together, I'll add a little Happy Halloween. I thought that would be fitting. So, never trust the living, Happy Halloween. I don't know. I love Halloween. I think it's great. I always have, even as a little kid, dressing up in costumes. I still dress up in a bit of face makeup sometimes. Well, most of the time when I answer the door for Halloween and I get to see all the cute little kids and even teenagers. I will gladly give teenagers candy, you know. If they're knocking on my door, it means that they're not throwing poop bags on my front porch and lighting them on fire. Not that that's ever happened, nor have I ever done that, but I can honestly say I've never had my house egged. So once I've gone through that with the Sakura Jelly Roll neon green pen, I will take some double-sided tape, which is the most awesomest tape that I have on my desk for doing panels. I can't stress that enough in any of my other videos. I'm going to tape that onto the back because the panel, because there's so much glue, like liquid glue on it, it's a little warped, so I want to make sure that once I've taped everything down, it's rather sturdy and everything's adhered properly and it doesn't look all wishy-washy, warped and whatnot. So once I've got all that done, I will bring back my card and make sure that that jelly roll pen isn't coming off. And I find that the jelly rolls are quite nice when you're working with them on paper. I think they absorb into the paper much quicker than like the cheap crap that you can buy at the dollar store, or at least that I found. It doesn't smear as much. However, when you get into the glazed pens, then that's where you're running into trouble with smearing. So I'm going to add a little more liquid glue just to make sure that everything's adhered, and I'll use my Misty to line everything up. And any of the white stuff you see there, I end up trimming off camera with my guillotine trimmer. So because I should have left the letters in my Misty when I did this so I could go over them, hindsight is always 20/20, I am taking a black Sakura Glaze pen, which I kind of like because it almost gives your letters a bit of a 3D effect, and it's just enough to kind of keep it in the stamp so it still kind of looks stamped, but it's not. And you can see I kind of gooped a little on the never. So there you have it. There's my card. I'm quite happy with it. So if you've enjoyed today's content or found it helpful, please give this video a like. I also welcome you to subscribe, as I post weekly. Here's another video I think you might enjoy. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Take care.